A very good afternoon to all. My name is Shraddha Shukla, Assistant Professor at IPM Law Academy, and I welcome you all to the webinar on Safeguard Your Future by exploring the opportunities in legal world. IPM made a modest beginning in the year 1996 with management and computer application programs. Today, the IPM group of institutions is in the forefront of imparting knowledge in the fields of law, education, management, and information technology. The IPM Law Academy is NAC accredited and affiliated to Chaudhry Charan Singh University, Meerut, and approved by the Bar Council of India. IPM Law Academy offers LLB 3 years and BLLB 5 years courses. The LLB 3 years course was introduced in 2005 and BLLB 5 years integrated course was introduced in 2012. We at IPM Law Academy always strive for excellence towards providing value-based professionals for the industry and society. Moving forward with today's webinar, I would like to quote Aristotle, who said that law is reason free from passion. And for those who are familiar with the movie Legally Blonde, we can all agree that in our 3 years or 5 years of graduation, passion is the most important key ingredient to the study and practice of law. In other words, the courage of conviction and strong sense of self that we take our next steps into the world. With this, I would like to invite our guest speaker for today's webinar, Dr. Sachidanand Ray, Vice President and Head Healthcare Strategy at BC Jindal Group. Dr. Ray has more than 16 years of experience in strategic marketing, business development, consulting, and innovation. He has developed strategic alliances in India, Indonesia, South Africa, Bangladesh, and Dubai. Dr. Ray has an overwhelming industry experience, and I'm sure we all will have a lot to gain from him. So with this, please allow me to welcome Dr. Sachidanand Ray to enlighten us with his virtuous words. Over to you.
Thank you, Professor Sada. It was a really great introduction. Thanks for that humble gesture from your side. And a warm welcome from my side to all the IPM members, and a heartfelt gratitude for inviting me for this virtual talk. Before I get into the exact scope of law, let me tell you a bit about myself. So as Professor Sada said, I basically belong to the management field, and I've spent close to 16, 17 years in the management side. But one key thing that I've seen in this last so many years is that every company you enter, one of the key things that actually is most pervasive is that they're always in the verge of entering new markets, launching new products, trying to come out of a big transaction or trying to make a big transaction. And all of this avenues are actually linked to one or the other aspect of law. And if you actually look at it, today, if you were to enter the corporate, the first big thing that you need to understand is how to close a deal. In the deal, there is a deal contract, which has got multiple terms and conditions in terms of letter of intent, the port of landing, the customs duty, and other things which have to be legally binding and between the buyer and the purchaser. If you talk of, let's say, making a deal, you are actually maybe quoting in a dollar price versus a Indian rupees price. So you need to have that kind of a understanding that what kind of currency works and what kind of risk you are taking in terms of legal as well as financial when you are doing this transaction. Come to marketing and advertising. If you make a claim, then you are legally bound by the claim, whatever you are making for the product. If you go a step further, when you hire an employee, you have a HR and a labor contract and different types of employee contracts that you need to sign. And that's also governed by law. So in a sense, if I see, law is everywhere. And of course, there are core legal functions as well, which looks into cases, both civil and criminal, pertaining to the corporate. So what I'd like to tell you is that in today's world, when most of the jobs are coming from the corporate, it's very important for you to appreciate, understand the scope of law, and try to get into a scheme of things where you are legally knowledgeable and you can actually apply law to the respective function. So there is also a possibility that you may not be a part of the core legal function, but still the law and the legal knowledge will help you actually in intervening multiple aspects that I just talked about. Professor Sada, if you could allow me to share the screen, I think there is a screen sharing required.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, sure. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Yeah. So with this small introduction, let me start my brief talk on how do you safeguard your future with legal world opportunities. Of course, this talk revolves primarily around the legal opportunities, but I'll also talk upon what are some of the adjacent opportunities that you can look at along with legal when you look at the corporate. Now, there's a brief quote by Leonard Strickland where they say that lawyers are the foot soldiers of our constitution. And I would admit that actually the main enforcers and executors of the entire constitution, whether you talk of and then Indian Penal Code and then the Civil Code, all of these are actually executed and enforced only by the part of lawyers, because legal system is the one which understands and interprets the laws in the best possible way. No other function can claim that kind of a clarity of knowledge of the constitution or of the legal premises of any country. Now, before I enter into the scope of legal practice, let's understand what's legal practice in India. Of course, there are great quotes around this, but in nutshell, if I were to look at it, it's to basically assimilate and analyze facts and to distinguish the relevant factors from the others in a given situation. So this is kind of a abstract and a very 30,000 feet kind of understanding of legal instinct. And today, how it applies to us, let's say when you enter a job in a corporate, is that it applies to commercial law, it applies to corporate law, international trade law, taxation, constitutional, patent law, labor law, family, mercantile, contract, and administrative. And all of these fields of law, except for family law, are all applicable to corporates. Now, that's something that I want to talk about. That any specific subject that you are actually undertaking under the legal studies of LLB or LLM is applicable in corporate. It is not a mere theoretical aspiration that you read these subjects. Let me give you an example of each. So today, I currently work for BC Jindal Group, and it's a group which operates in 5 continents, and the major business actually comes from US and Europe. And many of the times we have to deal with trade sanctions between different countries. There are trade blocks, there are financial barriers, there are legal barriers, which will have to be considered when you make a transaction. And that's where the international trade law comes into picture. You'll of course study a subject on company law, and as you delve deeper into it, you'll understand that it's got far-fetching implications on each deal that you make with either a supplier or a distributor or even a customer. So that falls under the ambit of contract law and company law, etc. Now, one important thing is now there is the upcoming field in innovation. So all of the companies are investing about 5 to 10% of the overall revenue in patents. Now, what are patents? Patents are nothing but innovations that you make which should be protected for a period of 10 years so that nobody else can copy it. And it has got some commercial value also when you actually want to give it for a royalty, or you want to actually get some benefit out of it by manufacturing a product. So patent law is a very strong uh, investment criteria for most companies in today's world. Labor law and other forms of law are very important as far as the HR and the human resource development functions are concerned. And family law, of course, pertains to the personal side of things where the civil laws have a big say. That's about briefly about the legal practice. Now, if I were to briefly talk about what are the top 10 reasons from my perspective where you should be signing in for a legal career, one is, of course, you have a diverse option in terms of legal career. You have multiple growth and opportunity initiatives that are being taken up in this sector by the industry and by the academia. There are good financial rewards linked to the legal opportunity. Let me quote one example. So I was speaking to actually the legal head of Philips, and I was associated with Philips for more than 10 years in my earlier career. And the legal head actually joined as a fresh LLB and a LLM from Delhi University. And then he continued with Philips for 30 years plus. He said it was never an opportunity where he thought that his job was under risk or he had to do something. Of course, he kept upgrading his skills, he kept reading and doing newer degrees and higher degrees and all of it. But it was never a chance where he felt disadvantaged as a legal professional in the corporate. So, in terms of financial rewards and growth and opportunity, as I was saying, it is a great, great area. There are diverse practice areas. Just to tell you today, if you were to do, let's say, a commerce degree, uh, let's say a chartered accountancy or a company secretary, today it is imperative that you understand law along with being a CA or CFA or a cost accountant, etc. And that's actually a hot combination if you look at it. So whether you come from a commerce background, whether you come from a science background, you will find people in senior levels who are doing law along with their engineering and finance and commerce degrees. If we were to look at intellectually, this is one of the most rewarding professions because never in a day you will feel that, okay, what do I do next? Because there will always be a new case for you to think of. So today it's a civil case going on in the company. Tomorrow it might be a criminal case against one of the distributors. Just an example of that. There is a good amount of prosperity, prestige, global perspective, and dynamic environment associated with it. When I say dynamic environment, today, if you are practicing, let's say in the civil law, and after some days you find that you're getting a lot of your clients who are also interested in protecting their IPs, then you might do civil plus IP. Many advocates in the Supreme Court that I have spoken to are diversifying in terms of their practice areas. And that's pretty much possible. So you actually get a very dynamic environment when you join law. If I were to talk about what is the scope after legal education, so you complete 3 years of LLB or 5 years of BLLB, and what do you do next? Of course, there are multiple avenues, but I've highlighted some of the top ones, which are probably you could join one of the corporates as a corporate counsel or consultancy. And this is actually a very
So your voice is breaking.
Is it better now? Yeah, Professor Shraddha, can you hear me now?
I think there is some network connectivity, sir. Your voice.
Okay.
So there is a distortion in your voice at times, it breaks. So it gets quite difficult to understand what you said.
Okay. Just give me a second. Let me use a earphone then. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Just give me a second.
Hello, Dr. Ray, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there must be some connectivity issue or network issue from the audience side. Your voice is quite audible and it's very, very clear. Anyways, I think these students who have joined, just check back your network, please. The connectivity issues, because at certain places that there is some network issue. So maybe that may be kind of a distortion that you may be facing. Just check back your network issues, please, because from the speaker side, Dr. Ray's side, it is quite audible and clear.
Yeah, just give me a second. I'm just joining my. Yeah, I think is it better now?
Yes, sir. It's quite better.
Yeah, so I'll continue from where I left. So I was saying there is a lot of scope after legal education, but I wanted to highlight some of the key areas where the students could look at. One of the areas is being a corporate counsel or being a corporate consultant. And here you need to interact with various functions in the company. You need to meet the department heads, the CEO, understand the business and operational needs, and then serve them in a respective manner from a legal perspective. This is actually a very sought after position today because you get the flexibility of being a consultant and you can also do your private practice. So that actually it meets both ends. Another important perspective is you could join a law firm. So many of you would have heard people like Narang and Narang, or individual law firms led by prominent advocates like, let's say, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, or in fact, most of the advocates do have their own law firms as well associated. Uh, Kapil Sibal is associated with a prominent law firm as well. So what happens is if you join a law firm, you actually get to work with a variety of cases. So you can actually work on civil cases, you can work on international cases, and of various forms. And you strike corporate deals. So you don't sign on a case-to-case basis. Let's say you sign up with Philips or Siemens, the whole year, whatever cases come will actually come to you in a kitty. So you will have to keep handling them over a multi-year phenomenon. So that's also a great way to enhance your legal practice after you do your education. One second. The third one, of course, is having your own chamber and doing your private practice, which has been the most sought after kind of profession for many aspiring advocates. They do a good, decent private practice. But here the challenge is you'll have to search for your own client. And till the time you have your own base, it's better to work for a legal firm or to work for a corporate firm where you actually get cases on a platter. The fourth one is you could do legal process outsourcing, where actually what happens is many of the corporates today would not want to keep an in-house legal team for most of their legal process and hearings, etc. So they completely outsource the legal process to offshore unit. Sometimes it's also outside India, where they have multi-country contracts. Like I know Philips, for example, has a legal process outsourcing to a firm which is based in Amsterdam and which has got branches across APAC, Europe, US, etc. And you can actually uh, deliberate and discuss all your legal affairs with them, and they will manage it with their local representatives across the world. So legal process outsourcing is also becoming common as we look at it. Now let's come to what are the types of legal practice that you see that you can look at. Of course, fundamentally it is either civil law or criminal law, and today there are a lot of people who are dealing just with family law because marriages, divorces, adoption, custody of children, property cases. Property cases are coming up quite a bit. People are dying intestate. In COVID, just for example, there were many parents who died without a will. There are a lot of fights between brothers, sisters, siblings, etc. So family law is important. Civil law, of course, it again deals with families, defamation, and the civil framework of the law. And criminal law, of course, you know that all the penal activities that are involved in the entire legal profession comes under this. Criminal law, actually, if you look at it, among all the three, is considered the most rewarding. Of course, it's the most risky as well, because if you don't get a bail for a person in time, then probably you lose your credibility in the market. But of course, if you get a bail for a wrong person in the market, then also it carries a lot of word of mouth in the market. So you need to be careful what kind of. So, but you need to choose what are your strengths. So in the course of 3 years or 5 years, you need to understand whether you are more inclined towards civil law, family law, or criminal law. And according to that, you can choose what practice you should be doing in the next 5 to 10 years. Of course, you could also think of doing pure company law and corporate law, because that's what most business enterprises today want. Just to tell you, not only just the bigger corporates, but MSMEs and let's say mid-sized corporations and even PSUs have their company law department, where about 5 to 6 members are appointed every year, either interns, and then there are senior counsels who are also working on company law. So it's a very good opportunity in terms of legal practice. Real estate is coming up in a big way, especially after the RERA implementation and a lot of changes in the real estate enactment and enforcement. You can actually deal with real estate law. And of course, if you were to ask me what are the key things that are involved in here, one is, of course, all the major builders, which are, let's say, builders like Supertech, Hiranandani, DLF, etc. They have a large legal team, because they know that most of their projects will not get over in time. There might be multiple cases against them in terms of penalty, recovery, etc. So real estate law is becoming very big. So that's something that you can look at. Last but not the least, cyber law. Now, cyber law is very interesting, because now most of you are using smart devices, distributed technologies. Like today, we are using Zoom. So there is a possibility that there is a chance of hacking of certain meetings via scrupulous elements. There is a chance of gray hat jacking, white hat jacking. These are specific types of hacking that are seen outside India. And then there are incidents of phishing, where you take away the financial data of a company. So cyber law has become very important. And of course, there were instances where MMS and other things were communicated and circulated across the internet and the mobile phenomena, where cyber law actually gained a lot of prominence. So if you are going to be expert in cyber law, there are a lot of legal firms specifically specializing outside India and also in Delhi and Bangalore, which are dealing with cyber law. Now, if you look at the career options and scope, you could be a corporate lawyer, you could be a litigator, you could work in international organizations in terms of diplomacy, international development, human rights. I was talking about the international law today. Most of the, I would not say all, but let's say majority of the ambassadors, diplomats which work for government of India or international governments are actually from the international law side, because they understand the implications of most of their statements and what is the current stand in terms of sanctions, in terms of trade blocks, in terms of alignment with WTO, etc. So that's becoming very important if you are going to study and practice international law. You could also think of social law. Today, NGO is very, yeah. Sorry, is there a question? Yeah, okay, I'll continue. So in terms of social work, you could look at development, human rights, ethics, etc. This is becoming very, very important. So there is Human Rights Commission, there are women's commissions, where there are a lot of lawyers involved in terms of day-to-day activities and cases. Research and academics, of course, you are going to be a part of a prominent university and college, which is into law school training. You could also contribute as an academic into policy making, into cutting edge areas in college administration. And of course, you could give the Indian Judicial Services exam or the state level Judicial Services exam and enter the judiciary at a lower judiciary level and slowly grow up to becoming a senior judge, a senior counsel, etc. This slide, I thought being a corporate, if I don't show, will not help the students. So I thought I will keep it. So this is a very, very short snapshot of what salary options exist in the legal field. If you choose to, let's say, work for a decent size multinational corporate, the salary band could start anywhere between 45 to 65,000 per month. In terms of law firms, it could go anywhere between 55 to 75. Litigation, it could go in up to 20,000 per month, and with NGOs, it could be between 25,000 to 35,000 per month. And of course, there are multiple levels of risk-reward ratio if you look at any of these fields. And I would say if you really want to grow fast, then probably litigation and law firms are better places to be. But if you want to have a stable law career, then probably corporates, academics, and NGOs are very good options for you. Now, this is my last slide. So I just wanted to end it in a good note in terms of what are the big avenues coming up globally. So one of the prominent professors of Kellogg's Business School, Dr. Gulati, again, NRI by origin, he says that one of the most big thing which is upcoming as a combination in academics is law plus MBA. So obviously you could complete LLB and do your MBA, and that becomes a very potential combination when you enter corporates or when you enter multinationals, because they want somebody who understands the implication from multiple perspectives. And you can actually contribute to sustainable business as a business manager. So the importance of the legal firm and the legal unit and the legal education is going to remain. So whether you club it along with a chartered accountancy, whether you club it along with the MBA, with the engineering, or with any other field, post your LLB also, that also becomes a very potential combination. So it is not just that you have to look at law in isolation. You can also do that and continue on your journey with let's say, doing even better degrees, specialized degrees, or join legal firm and do your next steps. But you can also take up adjacent fields and create a potential combination for yourself where you become unique in the field. Nobody will challenge you if you understand company law and then you are doing a transaction, because then you are not just a marketeer, you are also a marketeer plus a legally aware professional. So that helps in actually growing in the corporate career. So that's in brief from my side. I would open the forum for questions. And if you have any specific clarification on any slides, I can go back. Hello. Hello.
Sir.
Yes, am I audible?
Session. I'm sure we all had a lot to take from that. I request if there are any questions you may ask now.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Sir, this is Dharam Prakash Thakur from Bhopal. Sir, my question is that, sir, is college or place matters in law field, sir?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Sir, is college or place matters in law field, sir?
See, one of the key things is, of course, when you are choosing a college, you'll obviously get the right faculty. So college has a big role in making you a decent professional versus an average professional. Now, in terms of, let's say, if you take a college like IPEM, which has got experienced faculty, obviously you'll get a better scope to learn each of the aspects of law, whether if you choose let's say a next year of college. So college, yes, does have a big role, but how it shapes up as a career, so that is something that depends on the individual. Like when I completed my MBA many years back, I never took up the college placements. I was actually placed in a biotech company on my own links. And that is the option today that you will see for most of the MBA professionals, legal professionals who actually have their own strengths. They figure out the good internships with legal firms and let's say Narang and Narang or some of the bigger advocates. If they find you good enough, you can actually work with them and then grow as a legal professional. So college will give you that background, that fundamental to come out as a good legal professional. But after that, what happens with you is completely on you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Or sir, is there any place factor?
See, in terms of place, there is no specific hindering or facilitating factor. But what matters is if you are close to, let's say, one of the key places of practice. Like let's say if you are studying out of IPEM, which is pretty close to Delhi and even Lucknow. So there are places where you can choose and where you can get decent legal firms to work with.
Okay, thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, it's a perception around us and in the legal fraternity that we don't get internship easily if we are not from top-notch law schools. So, is it prevailing or not?
So frankly, the legal graduates that we look at even as a company professional, we look at their domain knowledge and not specifically at the top 10 institutes. Because what happens is at the end of the day, we don't want to just hire candidates just because they have done a degree. We would like to test them, give them a case. So typically how the hiring happens, even for intern, I can tell you in a legal intern in terms of Phillips, I can tell you is we give them multiple cases, one civil, one criminal, one patent related, and we actually test the legal approach. So what kind of investments do they look at? What kind of timelines do they look at? What is the total hierarchy of aspects that do they look at in the legal case? And basis that, the legal head takes a call whether to take him or her into the legal role. So it has got less to do with the top 10 colleges, but it is more to do with the individual's capability of analyzing a case.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
My name is Raj. I am from New Delhi.
Hi, Raj. Yeah.
Hi. So I just want to check, at this point in time, financial security is a must, right? Be
Yes.
it for an individual or be it for its family. So my question is that, how do we maintain both? So is it feasible that, I personally do not feel that during my initial years of becoming a lawyer and getting well, guided and then getting the wisdom of the law will be initially available to me, wherein I will still have to go through an internship or maybe those struggling days of understanding how it works. So is it advisable that I work in a corporate firm and, on a weekend, or maybe I can side by side also work as a legal advisor? Is it legally correct, or it's illegal to have two employments at the same time, wherein I am not working during the same hours for both the employments? I'm working beyond those hours.
I would advise you as a senior professional in the industry to complete your legal degree. And if you're interested in the corporate, understand the company law in detail, not take up two parallel professions, but try for any one of those. There are three routes, as I told you. If you develop interest in civil or criminal lawyer, there are multiple senior lawyers, let's say in Delhi and NCR, whom you can tie up with. You can tell them that I would like to work as an apprentice kind of lawyer along with you. So do the legal drafting for you, go along with you for hearings. That's how you learn. That's how you grow as a legal professional. So once you are attached with any one senior legal lawyer, you learned a lot. Second is, if you have the passion to be a company lawyer, then you have to brush up your corporate law to such a level that you know all the nuances and facets from multiple case studies. Of course, whatever the company, the college will give you will also give you a good finding, but you'll have to do your own research. Come back to company, then say, these are the kind of cases that I've studied. I would like to work on this. And I'm sure there'll be multiple companies which will be open, and they have currently a lot of legal openings as we speak. So just to give you a flavor of both, I think it's just stick to one area, whether you want to do practice, whether you want to do company practice, whatever you want, there are opportunities. So don't have to take up two thing, and you'll be financially stable in both ways. Either you take up company practice or private practice. If you work with a good law firm, also you'll be earn decent.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. That was
Hello.
great.
Thanks.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Ray, I just wanted to, in fact, I was a little late to join this session.
Sure.
So I saw your profile. It's like a health strategy. So
Right.
in case it is appropriate, I would be really happy in case you can share a little more about what is this profile all about and what exactly it entails for an organization. And then I will have my own question.
Sorry, you wanted to understand regarding the health strategy which I lead?
Yeah. I mean, what exactly the health strategy means in an organization per se.
Sure. So basically what I do for the Jindal group is, as you know, this group is primarily into power, steel, packaging films, etc. So you would have seen Jindal films and steel everywhere.
Right.
And even thermal power, they are major leaders who are actually above Tata Power. So, but they were never into medical devices. So what I do for them is I'm setting up a complete healthcare division for them where we manufacture medical devices starting from X-rays to CT scanners to MRI scanners, etc. So primarily the radiology side of things where we do
Okay.
manufacturing, etc. So that's what I do as a part of our health strategy.
Okay. Thanks, Todd. And then one thing which largely, you covered about career options available for the law graduates, depending upon what kind of interest level they have.
Right.
One thing, I mean, I don't know how appropriate in which section will it fall in. But yeah, recently, if you look at a lot of, women issues and gender issues are there. So
Right.
organizations do conduct, gender-based programs, and
Right.
they also impanel I would say law and NGO people on their panel as a external ICC member.
Right.
So that is also one space, I guess, where people can explore their career
Yes.
because there's a dearth of good knowledgeable people out there.
So they're actually independent legal consultants that companies hire. Like in our company, we have a commission, internal commission, which looks into the workplace safety and the women's issues. And so those are a panel of independent legal consultants that we have hired from another law firm. So that's certainly one of the provisions that you can look at. So that's where I said that. So when you look at a legal firm, you get a lot of options to practice. And that's one of it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your detailed answer. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, any other questions?
If we don't have any other questions, we're now ending the question answer session.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks.
Now, I think it is an opportune moment to capture this session, for which I request all the attendees to kindly switch on their cameras so that our technical team can take a screenshot of the same. I request everyone to please turn on their cameras and wait for a few seconds. I request the faculty members as well to kindly turn on your cameras. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you. And just a parting note, I did share some of the placement stats of corporates. That was more indicative. That was more a study done by one of the Mumbai legal firm for the last 2-3 years in terms of legal trends. But the exact variations do happen depending on the profile of the candidate, depending on the company that you apply for. But what I would suggest for all of you is to do your own research from year one. Don't try to wait till year 3 and then try to figure out where you want to enter, because then you will figure out how to get the right internship, how to get the right job in a legal firm, which participant. And just to tell you, currently our firm works with the largest advocates from Supreme Court. And I'm personally involved in some of the large discussions. But what I can just tell you is that the kind of knowledge that I see in senior advocates and counsels is sometimes overwhelming. Even as company professionals, we don't feel that we have that kind of a in-depth insight on what they can look at from an external perspective. So I really respect the profession, and I feel it's a great profession to be. So please take care of yourself and have a great career in law, and do reach out if you have any problems. So I can share my contact ID if you want, and anyone have any specific query beyond this call also, you can reach out.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
I would now like to welcome Dr. Dolly Phillips, Dean Outreach and International Affairs, to give the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Should I just check, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right. Let me first give and extend my vote of thanks to especially Dr. Ray. That is, we have all seen his profile out of his busy schedule. He had just made us convenient in a very short notice that yes, he had given up a complete counseling on especially the legal discipline, that how students can take the best use of it. And I'm really glad that many students who got connected with us, they had a lot of queries relating to the judiciary and to the legal discipline as such. And I hope with Dr. Ray's enrichment session, the students have really understood how they could really carry on with their career with it. And to mention on a note here that these series of counseling sessions we've been organizing, and the next series would be on the area of management and commerce, for which again we may be sharing you the details, and probably next week or within 10 days we'll be sharing you the details about the seminar, about the counseling session for it. And I would like to thank all the IPM team members for making it happen at a very such notice, or the admission team for that matter, the departments and our staff members who had really had worked behind it and got you all connected for this session, for an enlightening session. Thank you, Dr. Ray, for getting connected and sharing your rich experience with the students concerned. Thank you, Shraddha, so much. Over to you, Shraddha.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We're on to the end of today's webinar, but before we depart, we would really appreciate to have your feedback. The feedback link has been shared in the Zoom chat box. I request everyone to kindly fill the form so that you can also get your certificates for the webinar. I repeat, kindly fill the feedback form to attain your certificates. It is in the Zoom chat box. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar and making it a success. Thank you and have a great day.